The ecology of our area is very important as one of those ingredients that have helped us become the world-class resort we are today. Destin is a peninsula. Now, a peninsula is land that is surrounded on 3 sides of water. An island is surrounded on all sides of water, but Destin is a peninsula, not an island. Now, we are surrounded on the south side of our peninsula by the Gulf of Mexico. On the north side of our peninsula by Choctawhatchee Bay. And this slit through here that's called East Pass, that's where the sheltered water of the bay goes out into the open water of the Gulf. And this is the Destin Peninsula. This is very important. Our bay is fed by about a dozen different freshwater rivers. So we have a lot of fresh water that comes into this bay. It's also spring fed in a couple of places. Now this is very important. If you've ever heard the word estuary. Estuary is a very fancy word that means fish nursery. And Choctawhatchee Bay is a fish nursery for our area. 90% or more than 90% of commercially harvested fish actually begin their life in an estuary such as the Choctawhatchee Bay. So different fish and different little critters out there, they like different salinities. Saline is like salt, so the salinity of the body of water is different. So the Gulf is very, very salty. If you go underwater, and it might burn your eyes. In the bay, it's less, and it's saltier near the pass in 15 parts per thousand than it is in the middle of the bay, than it is at the end of the bay. And different fish and different animals like different kinds of salinity. One of the biggest questions that's asked when people come into the museum is, why is Destin called the world's luckiest fishing village? And why is the fishing here so varied? Why are there so many fish here? And it's another one of those ingredients that have helped us become the world-class resort we are today. On our mile-long fish wall, we have a lot of different fish that were caught out of Destin waters. But more important to understand why the fishing is so good and why the shelling is so poor, ignore the fish and look at the mural behind the fish. A mural is a picture, like a painting. So let's look at the mural behind the fish. The beige is land. So there's Destin going east toward Panama City. The Destin Bridge, official name William T. Marler Bridge, goes across where that vent is. And then going west across Okaloosa Island to Fort Walton, Navarre, Gulf Breeze, Pensacola. Now, ignore the fish and look at the color blue. Just like on a map, the lighter, the shallower, the darker, the deeper. In the entire panhandle, Destin is the closest port to every depth of fishable water for all Gulf of Mexico species. That makes a big difference when you're paying to go fishing, so you're paying to fish and not boat ride. Now, open water is measured in a unit of measurement called a fathom. And this is a fathom. 1 fathom is 6 feet. So picture that, maybe how tall Daddy or Grandpa are. 6 feet, that's 1 fathom, okay? Now let's look back at our mural. Right out the mouth of of our harbor, and out, you go out of the harbor and out the mouth of the pass, of Destin's East Pass, there's a 50 fathom curve. Well, 50 times 6, that's a 300-foot drop. Okay, another very special place I want to show you. I'm going to walk right over here. A very popular fishing place is called the 100 fathom curve. Well, 100 times 6, that's 600 feet deep. Then to show you how deep it can get, only 70 miles off of East Pass is a spot called DeSoto Canyon. It's 450 fathoms. That's 2,700 feet deep. Now to give you some idea, from the 100-fathom curve, which is only 44 miles off of the pass, to DeSoto Canyon is kind of like a 60 to a 270-story building going straight down. Now, it just so happens that the Gulf Stream swoops up the closest to the port of Destin, and that way we get the migratory fish. So that's why the fishing here is so varied. The reason the sand here is the way it is, and when you walk on the beach, you can take a look at it. It's very, very soft and it's very powdery. And the sand here is 97-98% quartz. Now, that's why the sand here is so unique. And the interesting thing about quartz is its main property is that it's reflective. So the sand here is cool to the touch, even in the hottest part of summer, which is a really good thing when you're walking barefoot. And it also has to do with the beautiful color of the water. When the sunlight goes through the water and reflects off the quartz, it refracts through the bodies of the microorganisms, casting the color. Many of the advertising slogans for the area even call it the Emerald Coast. Now, where did it come from? During the time of the glaciers and ice age, when the glaciers began to melt, it created a river that rose in what is now the Appalachian Mountains, and when it receded, it dumped this beachfront. So when you're walking on the sand here, you're actually walking on very ancient Appalachian mountains.